Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on The Infernal Machine, starring Guy Pearce as an author, I think in the early 90s, whose book seems to carry a curse or some sort of darkness to it that comes out of the book and into real life. Yeah. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 9. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Man, I'm burping a lot. That must have been dinner. So I like Guy Pearce. I think he's good. A good actor. Not in enough. But in this, he plays a writer, I think in the early 90s, who wrote a hit book called The Infernal Machine. But after the book came out, somebody read it and then went nuts and killed a bunch of people. And then he went into hiding over it. And now he lives in seclusion. But someone's found him, and keeps sending him letters. Now, this takes place while payphones are still a thing, and the internet is brand new. Because eventually he does go to, I think he goes to, someplace like a lot here. He's got, see, this is an old PC to check the internet. One of these, I don't know. They used to have these places where you could go just to use the internet. They were hot for about 10 seconds. So someone's harassing him. It's not quite clear who, and he thinks it has something to do with the shooter who's in prison. And then he talks to this guy. I don't think he's the shooter. I think he's a former cellmate of the shooter. And but somehow the book is sort of coming to life, and he's trapped in it, and he's not sure why. And he kind of blames the shooter, but maybe that guy's already dead, I think. I don't know, it's unclear. It seems like an intense movie. It's got an interesting look to it. Guy Pearce really sells it. Written and directed by Andrew Hunt. Let's see. Ooh, a lot of executive producers. All right, our record's 23. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, so not even close, but that's a lot of people. Baker's dozen there. Alice Eve is also in the movie. I don't know. It says Alice Eve with Jeremy Davis and Elijah and Alex Pettyfer. Yeah, I mean, the whole, really, the movie's selling me kind of on the concept. I like these kinds of concepts, but they're really hard to make pay off. The look of the movie is very interesting because it does take place in the not too distant past, right? So for me, having lived in that past, it's kind of interesting. It's almost nostalgic to see the old technology, to see the payphone, to see the tape recorder, and to see him use that technology. My only problem with the movie, it's not really a problem from like a Hollywood standpoint, for the younger crowd, are they going to really understand what that's like? My guess is a lot of them won't. But then again, the movie's not really aimed at them. It's aimed at probably a slightly older audience. Although maybe they would get into it. I don't know. See, I feel like a lot of movies these days, when they portray the 80s, the 90s, they're like portraying it like it was the ancient past. And in some respects, maybe it feels that way to some people. It's not that ancient to me. But I'm older and I lived in it. So I'm wondering if people can connect with something like a tape recorder answering machine. Like, I remember what that was like to use one. I remember what it was like to use a regular phone that was in your house as opposed to this cube of hellscape, right? And if you don't know what that's like, can you really understand it when he has to go back to his place to answer the phone? Like, does that resonate with you? What that's like? I kind of feel like a lot of people, the longer we go, the fewer people can relate to that, you know? So, and I'm not saying you shouldn't make a movie in this time period. I'm just saying that that's a hurdle to overcome. Here we go. We got a synopsis. Reclusive and controversial author Bruce Cogburn is drawn out of hiding by an obsessive fan, forcing the novelist to confront a past he thought he could escape and to account for events set in motion by his bestseller decades earlier. Cogburn's search for who's behind the manipulation and mental torment he encounters leads to an emotional roller coaster ride full of fear and danger, where things are not always as clear as they seem to be, and where the past deeds can have dire consequences. I mean, part of the reason I think this trailer works for me is there's only one character to focus on. So I'm not learning a tremendous amount about him, but because I'm only learning about him, my focus is definitely on him. And because Guy Pearce is a good actor, he's really selling me on it. Like, I really do believe he is this guy in this trailer. He really plays it well. He looks really disturbed about this obsessive fan of his. But again, I mean, the fan's writing letters. Do people understand what that was like? Every once in a while I still get a letter, which is kind of interesting, but it was, again, a different time where you would write someone a letter, where you couldn't just send them an email. You would have to take a piece of paper, write your thoughts on the paper, put it in an envelope, and mail it to that person and wait several days for them to acquire it. Now, they might call you. You might put your phone number at the end of the letter and say, oh, give me a call, and that would be quicker. Or they would write you a letter back, So, but I think it's got a great feel. I like the music even. It's intense, and I like the idea, but maybe I'm biased because I like Guy Pearce, and it's about a writer, a recluse writer. So I'm totally on board with that concept. All he needs is a little dog, right? Right, Joan? She wants to go W. Okay. Speaking of which, I better get rolling. All right, so first act, probably going to be him living the life of a recluse. Every once in a while, somebody says, "Hey, aren't you that guy?" And he just goes, "No, I'm somebody else." He's so bored. He's taken to defacing U.S. currency, but he's having nightmares, and he starts getting these strange letters and packages. And he calls the guy and tells him to leave him alone. It doesn't work. He's trying to write. He can't write. He's obsessed with this gunman who killed a bunch of people because of his book. He gets blamed for it. He's kind of dealing with it. He's trying to figure out who this obsessed fan is. Second act, things escalate. He eventually decides he's going to visit this guy in prison who maybe has some info or whatever. And the guy maybe threatens him or dies. And, he starts to realize that maybe he's caught up in someone playing out the events of the book. And then at some point he acquires a gun, or he had a gun. Someone gets closer and closer to him, and he knows they're coming, and he gets more and more paranoid. And he's got some sort of deadly secret. I don't know, maybe something he exposed in the book or hinted at. This woman is trying to help him, but she doesn't understand quite what's going on, and he's got some secret that he doesn't want to let up. And it all comes to a head in the third act where, I don't know, he confronts something. This is where the movie is, tape player. Remember those? I do. The question is, can this movie pay off? It's all in the ending. right? Because it's going to be revelation, revelation, revelation. It's driving, driving, driving somewhere, and then boom, big revelation at the end. Yeah, it's all in the ending. And if you don't get that shock, then it's just like, oh, all right. So it's got to be a big shock at the end. I'm willing to give it a shot because, again, I mean, Guy Pearce, I think, can carry you there. Do we have a date on this movie? No, this feels like a fall or winter movie to me, though. Oh, there it is. Select theaters and on digital, September 23rd, rated R. Normally this would be a movie that would go in the theaters a while and then end up on the rental circuit or digital or whatever. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be in select theaters for like a micro week. If it doesn't immediately explode, they'll pull it and just put it on digital, which is a shame because I think if this movie does well, if it does have a shocker of an ending that we want to see, then maybe it would be worth seeing and lots of people would see it. But it's hard for movies that have legs now because they got a very short window. They got to start making money or the studio's going to pull them. But this seems like a competently produced film. I love the look of it. I mean, they're capturing the time period pretty well, for somebody who's been there. Anywho, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more base takes. I just added two more signings. Check out my book tours, links below. I'll be going back to Lucille's Luncheonette on September 25th. That's one of them. The next signing is September 3rd, this Saturday, at Thunder Road Books in Spring Lake, New Jersey. Hope to see you there, and we'll see you tomorrow.